I'm going to invite you now on a journey into deep time with our more than human ancestors. It'll be a guided visualization, so I ask you just to calm your nervous systems, take a few deep breaths, and close your eyes. Drop into the darkness that lies behind your eyelids. Breathe deeply into your trillions of cells. Here is the still point in the chaos, a refuge, and it is never not there. It is the cosmic void within the seat of our awareness, where everything arises and passes into existence. Dissolve into this pregnant nothingness. Allowing the spaces between places within spaces of your cells to expand, infuse, diffuse into this fluid weightlessness with no beginning and no end. The particles of you become waves as fixed points of time unlock and collapse into this prima materia of formlessness. And from this stillness, we draw our first cosmic breath, inhaling all potentialities. And with the exhale, we release a primordial sound, a celestial monochord that radiates out in our formless bodies as we entangle with the stars. And we spiral through constellations as dusty skirts of planets spin at the edge of our horizon like whirling dervishes, leaving us spinning in their wake. Propelled towards the light, we pass through the heart of the sun, melting, forging, forming. And Venus kisses our cheek as the moon lulls and laps lunations. And we feel the gravitational pull of our planet calling to us. Waves become particles, become waves, as packets of light and sound, we enter into Earth's atmosphere. Here we are received by the leaves of a plant to transpire, respire, transform, held in the velvet bosom of a bloom, to pollinate and procreate and encapsulate into a seed. And the wind hears our call, delivering us to our destination, nesting us into the cool, dark, damp soil. And we lie and we wait. Held in the cosmic womb. And from this fertile darkness, we begin to swell and yearn for the touch of the sun. Mycelium navigate our ascent. Planetary forces pull at our stalk as we rise up to meet the light that we once were. And we awaken, becoming plant. Feel your form. Explore your being. What colors, patterns, and shapes appear? Are you in flower? Do you bear fruit? Perhaps you feel your roots reaching into the earth. What is your texture? Your aroma? What is your medicine? What is your voice? And from this space of being plant, we ask the question, what future will we dream when we dream with the more than human? What future will we dream when we dream with plants? Slowly bring your awareness back into the room and the space that you occupy within it. What we just did was an act of imagination, of knowing through becoming, of sensing through direct perception. And I invite you to practice this way of listening, of embodied communication and sensing over the coming days. When we engage with the more than human, we alter our neurophysiology as we activate a sense of awe, which has been proven to increase pro-social and creative behaviors. When we allow ourselves to perceive from alternative perspectives, we open up new pathways and new possibilities for designing a future beyond our perceived limitations. In many past and present cultures, plants communicate to humans through dreams and altered states of consciousness. When anthropologists ask indigenous groups how they know why this plant will treat this disease, the answer is never trial and error. They always say the same thing. The plants told us. The Aymara people of the Andes see the future, the unknown, as behind, and we're facing the past. In the past, the landscape is etched with all of the experiences of our human and more than human ancestors. These are signposts, breadcrumbs, to support us in navigating the present. Considering plants as passive, considering the more than human as lacking agency, as nature as being outside of ourselves, has facilitated our abuse of the natural world, and in doing so, it's our own act of self-harm. You might be familiar with this illusion, but it's an illusion that people from modern industrialized cultures such as ours, it's only us that fall for it. When people from non-industrialized cultures, indigenous groups, when they're shown the lines, they see the truth, that they're the same length. What are we missing out on because of the blind spots that we create, because of our systems and structures, our boxes and lines? What are we not seeing? Because we're not looking the right way. What are we not listening to? Because we're not listening to other voices beyond our own. Here in Sweden, we have old Giko, a 9,500-year-old Norway spruce. What have we brought Giko into the conversation? What have we considered plants, who make up 87% of life on the planet, as being of value for our advisory boards? Modern Homo sapiens have been around for 160,000 years. Homo sapiens, 300,000. The horsetail plant, 350 million years. So why would we continue to assume that these beings, these ancient, wise beings, have nothing to offer? That these masters of adaptation and survival might not know something that we don't? Bodies of nature are gaining personhood around the world. Here in Sweden, we have Lake Vättern, and a group of researchers in the University of Gothenburg are looking to gain personhood for the lake, giving it legal status as a subject. In 2021, Ecuador became the first country to recognize the rights of nature as equal to people. A year later, Faith in Nature, a company in the UK, was the first company to put nature on their board as a director with legal rights, equal voting rights to the humans. And these are crucial first steps. But what are we listening to? How can we effectively listen? Pioneers in the field of plant neurobiology are looking to plants to explore their intelligence, their ability to communicate, and their social behaviors. They've shown that plants can taste, see, hear, and touch, all without the organs of sensory perception that we consider necessary for those functions. They've also demonstrated they can learn, remember, and problem solve. They can recognize self and non-self. They can make unique individual choices. They can recognize and favor their kin. And they're immense strategists. They can't just run away from a situation. They have to think very creatively to find innovative solutions for their evolution and survival. But how can we talk about sentience? How can we talk about consciousness when we don't even understand our own? We know that general anesthetic switches off consciousness in humans and animals. We don't agree on how that's actually actioned, but we know that much. Stefano Mancuso and his team began last year experimenting with modern pharmaceutical drugs and found that plants responded in the same way as humans. They became completely unresponsive to external stimuli, even though they have no brains and no nervous systems. Brain chauvinism is still strong, despite there being evidence of more than human intelligence. Studies into plant root systems suggest that the meristems, brain-like entities in the tips of the roots, may act as a sort of supercomputer. Plants are also chemists. They have a complex chemical language which they cook up in their internal laboratories. And it allows them to communicate with their kin and other species, to deter predators, to lure pollinators. Plants also make sound through a process called cavitation, which is when the water moves throughout the stem of the plant and it creates air bubbles. This produces like ultrasonic clicks. And they can hear. Heidi Apple, an ecologist and researcher, did experiments with cabbage plants, the brassica family, and found that the plants responded to the sound of caterpillars chewing. And they released a mustard oil. And this deters the caterpillars. Not only were they able to listen to the sound and respond, they could also differentiate between other insects that have a similar vibratory pattern that chew in the same way. Machine learning is allowing us to understand signaling languages of animals, of elephants, of bats, of whales, and the phonetic alphabet that they use. But meaning making shouldn't have to be that the more than human language has to conform to human linguistics. There are other more sensory ways of achieving this. Composer Pauline Oliveros talks about deep listening as a practice of sensing and feeling, listening as feeling, with the whole body, with everything that we have. And this is more than human listening. Eduardo Kohn, when he talks about how forests think, he describes this as primal sensing. And this is a deep knowing. This is thinking and listening with images. This is direct perception before our thinking mind comes in and filters what we're receiving. And this is where a large part of my work is. In exploring non-linear and non-verbal communication through direct perception, through sensing, but also through sound. In indigenous Amazonian cultures, plants have a unique song, and it's communicated in a sonic and visual tapestry. Wito is a composition created using biodata frequency recordings that I took to measure the electroconductivity in plants, and field recordings in the Amazon with a composer, Imka, and Takuna elder and linguist Abel Santos. You'll hear he narrates the cosmology where we were born from plants. We were created from the Wito fruit.
na ke Jemma te chita ama tuwe Jemma te china ke ta ake nan ta ake ipin ta ake na ke Jemma boere jo ya li tani Jemma tari ya ni no ya ni gini ni komani Jemma jo ina ni ipin ya le.
When we reveal these textures, these layers of sound, we access what Anna Singh describes as a polyphonic symphony. This is the interspecies gatherings, the dissonance and resonance that's created. And plants are orchestras. They are in communication with every aspect of their environment above and below ground. And there is a symphony happening beneath our feet. 1 teaspoon of soil contains more organisms than there are people on the planet. Yet, in 2022, the United Nations produced a paper estimating that 90% of soils will be degraded by 2050, moderately or severely. In neighbouring Norway, we have the Global Seed Bank, which is designed to preserve our genetic heritage of plants. But that would become redundant without soil. Disruptors to the soil's ability to communicate for the microorganisms, the macro beings, the animals, plants, and fungi to adapt, to respond, and communicate is being disrupted by agro-industrial chemicals and fertilizers, by GM monoculture crops, by seed extractivist processes. A Tale of Two Seeds, Sound and Silence in Latin America's Andean Plains is a sound installation and study. It's a collaboration between myself as half of Semantica with Camilla French and Attractor Studios. We use various devices to take recordings of the soil before and after the advent of soy monoculture crops to demonstrate this sonic landscape and this devastating loss of diversity.
The recordings and sonifications highlight several important findings. On the one hand, the contrast in sound in a soil that has been exploited in monocultures versus a soil that has been used for rotational polycultures. And on the other hand, the impressive sonic evidence of the loss of relations and alliances between species of a territory before and after the advent of a monoculture presence. Lastly, the sound interpretation of stress signals between plants that are part of the agro-industrial matrix of monocultures versus those which are part of organic and polyculture ecosystems.
Our initial studies suggest that the future of regenerative agriculture might be sonic. We've seen with the cabbage plants how sound can support the plant's natural ability to deter predators. We've also seen with the coral reef recovery that when coral larvae are played the sounds of healthy coral, they're more likely to start to build and reproduce in damaged reefs. So playing the frequencies of healthy soil to unhealthy soil might assist in restoration. Any kind of communication through sound has to be a two-way process. Without listening, there's no communication. Without communication, there's no partnership. Oniric Soils was a project as part of Dreaming with Plants, a residency in Greece last year, where we created a biofeedback loop between the dreams of the group, recorded in the morning, converted to non-verbal sine wave, played to the olive tree, during the day. And then at nighttime, we recorded the biodata of the olive tree and then played it to the group before they went to sleep. And this is an act of social dreaming. Social dreaming is the practice of coming together as a group, as a community, and registering our dreams as objects. Dreams are independent entities. They dream through a dreamer. And when we come together and we exchange these, we can see the processes that underlie our subconscious. We can start to see where we are as a group. And this can inform societal and cultural processes. So we're going to go on an experiment together over the next couple of days. Geomantra is a pilot app and a sonic meditation device designed to cultivate cohesive states of consciousness so that we can better approach plants and nature and receive and perceive from a space of heightened awareness. The Geomantra words are inputted from your dreams, how the dream made you feel, your experience, dream fragments. It's then converted into number and form, and then put through a dream incubator, which involves an algorithm based on frequencies and patterns in nature, such as the Fibonacci sequence, golden ratio, prime numbers. And then that produces a unique sonic mantra. We created these using frequencies, binaural beats, bioresonances, such as the Schumann resonance of the earth, and plant biodata. So I ask you to scan the code. There'll be various points today that you'll be able to do this. And I invite you tomorrow morning, ideally first thing when you wake up, before the dreams have that habit of dissolving into the day, but certainly before 11 a.m. And you'll be prompted to do this in the morning again. And then we will produce this as a word cloud, as a constellation tomorrow afternoon, so we can get an idea of, as we've received and perceived this information during today, what's really arising from us as a group, from our collective subconscious. Orangum. Ecologist Monica Gagliano uses a scientific and indigenous approach to her work. And she says that the plants gave her a word, orangum. And it means thank you for listening in plant speak. And of course, plant speak is inherently nonverbal. So it's not a word to be said or heard, but it's to be sensed. So from myself and the plants, orangum.
Thank you.